Welcome to the laws of cooking on Shabbat. This will be part 14. Today's topic, separating unwanted food from wanted food on Shabbat. There are 39 malachot that were done in the Mishkan, and one of them was borer, selecting or to separate a food from another food, or to even separate non-edible items. For example, I'm not saying that playing chess on Shabbat is allowed, but let's say if a person is playing chess on Shabbat, you have the white pieces and the black pieces, they get mixed together. So one of the guys, he goes ahead and he starts separating the white pieces to give it to his opponent. That, Rabotai, is not allowed to be done on a Shabbat. So you can have a person who is religious, he davens 3 times a day, learns Torah, looks religious, not working on Shabbat, still he's desecrating Shabbat. Today we want to see a very important halakha when it comes to borer, when it comes to selecting or to separating. In the previous class, we spoke about, in part 13, that if a person turned on a light on Shabbat, you're not allowed to benefit from that light on Shabbat. The question we want to see today is, what happens if a person went ahead and he did borer on Shabbat? Is he allowed to eat that food? By the case of the light, he did a forbidden labor. It was havara, it was lighting. By the case of separating the onion from the salad, also it's called a forbidden labor. Selecting or separating, that you're not allowed to do. So just like by the light we said you're not allowed to benefit from the light, are we going to say so too by the food, or are we going to give different exceptions? This is what we want to see today. Before we begin, just want to explain or give a small introduction on how does borer work. Rabotai, I'm going to say it in Hebrew, borer, but you guys get the point. Borer is either selecting or it's either separating. It means the same thing, it's just however you want to understand it. How does borer work? Okay. Now, Rabotai, in order for us not to do this prohibition on Shabbat, not to do this forbidden labor on Shabbat, there are 3 conditions that must all be met. If one of these conditions are missing, you are desecrating Shabbat. Now, I gave you the case of the salad. I'm going to give you another 2 cases just to get you familiar with the situation, with the understanding what does it mean, borer. A person is served bakhsh, which is rice and meat on Shabbat. On top of the bakhsh, they put chicken. The person that wants to eat the bakhsh doesn't like chicken. So he goes ahead and he removes the chicken from the bakhsh. We're going to tell you in this situation, he just did the malachah of borer. He just did the forbidden labor of selecting. Now the question we want to see, is he allowed to go ahead and eat the food? This is what we want to see. Another case. What about if a person was served a hot dish of soup? You had inside over there vegetables like carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, onions, and also you had meat. The person doesn't like boiled vegetables, but he wants to eat the soup. So he goes ahead and he removes the vegetables on Shabbat. Did he do something wrong? 100%. What did he do? He did the malachah of borer. He did the forbidden labor of separating on Shabbat. This person right now desecrated Shabbat. So you're thinking that guy that's working, wherever he's working on Shabbat, driving the car, he's desecrating Shabbat. Little do we know we're desecrating Shabbat. That's what the Rav Chaim says in his introduction to Halachot Shabbat in Chelek Gimel, the Mishnah Berurah. Anyone who does not learn Halachot Shabbat in depth is almost 100% certain that he's desecrating Shabbat. Because in order for you not to desecrate Shabbat, you have to know the halachot. But if you don't know the halachot, how do you know what you're doing is right or wrong? So, those were the three cases: the salad, the baksh, and the soup. We're going to see today, Be'ezrat Hashem, the halakha, if you're allowed to go ahead, and are you allowed to eat those foods on Shabbat? Or are we going to tell you leave it for after Shabbat? But before we do answer that question, let's understand how not to transgress this sin. So there are three conditions that must all be met. The first one is called Ochel mitoch pesolet. Food from waste. Now, whenever we use the language pesolet, we'll see it over here also in Hebrew. Right over here. Whenever we use the food poselet, it does not mean waste. It doesn't mean that the food is bad or the food is rotten. No, the food is 100% good. What does poselet really mean? We say it's waste, but it really means unwanted food. That's what poselet means. Whenever we're going to see the language ochel, it means wanted food. That's all. But poselet literally means waste. The reason why we say it's waste, because you don't want to eat it now. So therefore you want to put it aside. Okay. So the first case that must be met is ochel mitoch poselet. If you do not want to do the sin of selecting on Shabbat, how do you go around the situation? First rule is food from waste. You have to take out wanted food from unwanted food. You must take the good edible part out from the bad. Again, not bad, not that the food is bad. The reason why we call it it's bad, or the reason why we call it waste, because you don't want it. However, not the other way around. Not the unwanted food from the wanted food. Because if that's going to be the case, we're going to see if you're even allowed to go ahead and benefit from that food. Case number 2, la'alter. It has to be done for immediate use. The Chachamim tell us, immediate use means you're going to eat that food within the next half an hour. More than that, you're not allowed to do it. You can only do it if you're going to eat it or use it right away, not to save it for later. That means, if I have in front of me, let's say, a salad, like the first case I give, let's stick to the salad. It has lettuce, cucumbers, pickles, tomatoes, and onions. I don't like onions. So how do I go about the situation where I'm not going to desecrate Shabbat through this forbidden labor of selecting? What should I do? I'm not going to take out the onions, but rather what am I going to do? First, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take out ochel mitoch pesolet. Food from the waste, meaning wanted food from unwanted food. I'm going to take out the pickles, tomatoes, cucumbers, and the lettuce. I'm going to take it out, and the onion is going to stay back. Now, after I did that, la'alter, it has to also meet the second criteria, which is it has to be consumed immediately. You have up to half an hour. You have up to half an hour to go ahead and consume it. Because remember, Rabotai, if I went right now and I selected the wanted food from the unwanted food for a later time, I just desecrated Shabbat. Okay? Excuse me. And the third, biyad, it has to be done by hand or in a normal way of eating, meaning it must be done by hand, fork or spoon, not with a special tool or machine made for separating. For example, you cannot right now go ahead, let's say, you have those, what do you call these things? I don't know how you say it. You have these spoons that they have inside of them holes. So now if you want to go ahead and you want to separate the good from the bad, You can't use such a utensil. What is it called? What is it called? Okay, I don't know, but I hope you guys are getting the point of it. You're not allowed to do it. So we see over here, 3 conditions have to be met. Number 1, wanted food from unwanted food. Number 2, I must eat it immediately, meaning up to half an hour. Meaning to say, not that you have to consume the whole food in a half an hour, meaning to say that you have to start eating that food within a half an hour. And also it has to be done by hand, meaning with a spoon or a fork, but I'm not allowed to use basically a kitchen utensil. You know, like for example, they have these big spoons or they have these big forks that they have, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to call it. Wow, it slipped my mind. Anyway, you're not allowed to use anything which is not a spoon or a fork. The normal way of eating, that's what you're allowed to use. Okay. So now that we know that, let's go back to our halakha today. So Rav David Yosef Shlita is going to go ahead and he's going to address the question, if a person went ahead and he selected or he separated food on Shabbat, are you allowed to eat that food on Shabbat? Yes or no? Mi shavar b'shogeg al isur malechet borer b'Shabbat. If somebody went ahead by accident, he did the sin, the forbidden labor of selecting on Shabbat. Kegon, for example, sheberer poselet metoch ochel. For example, a person went ahead, he removed the unwanted food from the wanted food. Let's stick to the salad. I went ahead on Shabbat and I removed the onions, which I don't want, from the other vegetables. Or shiberer ochel, or no, let's go the other way around. What happens if a person went ahead and he separated wanted food, mitoch poselet, from unwanted food, but listen to this, shelo al manat leochlol alter, not on condition to eat it immediately. Meaning to say, I went ahead and I separated what I want, the tomatoes, the pickles, the cucumbers, and the lettuce, but I did it not to eat it immediately. I said to myself, I'm doing it now and I'm going to leave it for later. In these 2 situations, Rabotai, I desecrated Shabbat. The question is, am I allowed to eat the salad? Or if I did the same thing by the soup or the bachsh, can I eat them? Comes Rav David Yosef and he says, Nachon lahachmir shelo yochal machal zeh b'Shabbat atzma. It is correct. He's not telling you it's forbidden. He's just telling you it's correct to be stringent, not to eat that food on Shabbat itself. Rather, what should one do? Ela yanechenu la'achar Shabbat. Rather, leave it for after Shabbat. Now Rav David Yosef is going to say, what happens if the person remembered that the halakha, he was not allowed to do it, and now he went and he threw it back in. He mixed it. Right? It happens. It happens a lot of times. You're sitting, you're eating, you don't want something, correct? You don't want, so you're taking it out and you remember Shabbat and you throw it back in. Right? Throw it back in. So he says, Va'afilu, and even im yachzor, even if you're going to go back and you're going to return the unwanted food, if you're going to go and you're going to return the food and the unwanted food together, you're going to go ahead and you're going to mix them. Nevertheless, he says, Nevertheless, he says it is correct for one to be stringent and not to eat from that food on Shabbat. And nevertheless, however, he does say, but if there is a great need that you have to eat that food now, we're going to tell you that you are allowed to be lenient and eat that food on Shabbat. On condition, as long as you went and you took the wanted food and the unwanted food and you mixed them together. So this was case number 1. Pay close attention, Rabotai. In this case, what happened? Either I separated unwanted food from wanted food, or either I separated wanted food from unwanted food, which is not a problem. But I did it not to eat it immediately, which is a problem. In this situation, we said it's correct to be stringent and not to eat the food. But if, let's say, there is a great need for one to go ahead and eat that food, we're going to tell you you're allowed to be lenient, but as long as you mix the wanted and unwanted food,